Okay, it's 5 o'clock, so I'll call the meeting to order.
Haverly,
Yes?
Mize,
Yes.
Munoz,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Wald. Yes.
Okay, before you got the agenda, is there any changes or relations to it?
What about
Additions?
I would like the discussion on the maps.
And I thought we would do that under,
Unfinished business.
well, and principal code.
Oh, okay. Okay, perfect.
So we're just gonna put
Where's that at?
Mrs. Hanson.
Mrs. Hanson.
But it's not.
We're adding it, right?
Okay, we have, March 17th minutes.
I just want to say that I did make a slight change in just one word. I changed Nicole to Mrs. Wald. So I did print out corrected version for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'll make a motion to accept the change to minutes from March 17th.
I'll second them.
Haverly,
Yes?
Mize,
Yes.
Munoz,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Wald.
Yes.
You have Mr. Perry?
Okay, in front of you, I have a carpet bed, and what I'd like to see done is the carpet, the elementary hallway, and the main hallway in front of the offices, for a couple of reasons. One is safety. We noticed the last couple of days when it's been really wet, kids have been falling down, sliding, teachers, and so one thing would be safety. The other thing is just the time in the summer to wax those floors. It's about 2 weeks to buff them, get all the wax off, and do it again. So we're going to save about 2.5 weeks of labor, and then about $2,500 in wax per year if we would do that. I do have money in the building and maintenance fund for this. So I just think with those reasons, it'd be a good idea to put carpet down. Plus, the sound factor as well. You go down the main hallway of the classroom, and with the carpet, it's pretty soundproof. It cuts down on the sound in the hallway.
Do you anticipate it costing more to clean the carpets?
No, that's a good question. We do have a large vacuum, a large shampooer, so I don't. We can clean the shampoo the carpets every time that we're out of school. I was talking to Tim before he left about this, and he said it would be very easy to shampoo it, let it dry for a night, and we'd be ready for the next weekend, or the next week.
I guess I don't have an issue with it. I would in general like us to have a better plan of how we're going to spend money on capital improvements rather than just like bandy here and bandy there and let's do this because we need it now. And rather than spending this, I just like to have a plan. Rather, that's my opinion. So I'd like to see a plan on how we're going to accomplish and what we're going to need to get to someplace. I know we have that plan that Mr. Boyles had put together. I don't think we're really working off of it anymore, but maybe we are. I don't know.
I'm not really against it either. The only thing is, for the amount of money that we're gonna spend, generally we're required to get more bids.
Okay?
We should have a couple bids.
Okay? And I can get those ready for the next meeting as well.
Did you plan on doing it over the summer break?
Correct. Yep.
So then it looks like we're gonna have to redo this proposal anyways, because it says it's valid for 30
No,
days.
yeah, I called him about that, and he said that for schools, there's no expiration date
Okay.
for the bid.
Yeah, they've done all the short did in the classrooms,
And then that's probably fine, but I think you still have a couple more bids, just to save it down.
And that's all I have.
Well,
Any questions on any of the bills? I'm gonna address some questions that Nicole had. Does anybody else have any questions? Okay. So these are some items that Nicole addressed, me. She's asking why there was a third charge, or third cell phone in the bills. We do, at that time, we did have 3 cell phones because that bill was from February.
Okay, so,
And I am working on changing it, but I have to verify my email address, and it takes 2 days, and then someone from Verizon will call, and I
oh, so
have.
we still have the cell phone, so even that, so next year, next month we'll try to.
Yep, and next month I'll transfer, I am going to transfer it into Tim's name, so it'll be all, his. You asked about paying ACT out of the student activity fund.
Yeah,
We do pay that. It's for some other testing that they do. It's not specifically the ACT testing. It's word keys and math and literacy. And the students do pay for that,
oh, okay,
so it's extra testing.
okay.
So yes, we do pay, we have always paid for that in the activity fund. The Horace Mann, the journal entry that I made, the label is incorrect. The account numbers are correct. It's, that $682 is flex medical spending. You and Mr. Tyler both asked about the Social Security. I'm 99% sure that it's the Social Security that we had to pay on the COVID money that we paid the staff. That was the only requirement, that we pay any retirement and COVID, Social Security. So I'm 99% sure that's what it is. I was trying to print out some reports to bring, but I ran out of time.
Sure.
So, the overtime spreadsheet, the one I sent you was March.
It's in February, I talked about it.
I printed it out. Anybody else have it? It says March right here. Unless
The
it
one I
says-
have says March in the email.
Yeah, if you open up the Excel spreadsheet. Oh,
It
that's
says March.
I don't know.
Okay.
All right, sorry.
Well, I just thought, I don't know what I did, but I send everybody the same thing.
Yeah.
And the other one, do you think we will collect the remaining revenue budgeted? I did look out the 1990, the miscellaneous income, the telecommunication money we just got in March or in April from Ward County.
Oh, okay.
So that money is here, it hasn't been received yet. And the miscellaneous account, we are still waiting to get CTE reimbursement for Mrs. Severson, so that will more than cover that amount as well.
Okay. So yeah, there was, so I think I asked about like from one area to the next one. And so the telecommunications, we're gonna get special ed tuition, I measured with that. And then the interest on investments, okay. So then that takes care of that. Anything we'll get all of this line, yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Alright, perfect.
That's all I have regarding that.
any other questions on the bills?
No, I'll move to approve the bills.
I'll second them. Second that.
Haverly,
Yes,
Mize,
Yes.
Munoz,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Wald.
Yes.
Okay, I also have an open enrollment, number 90N. This is a family that lived here before and just moved back from out of state. They do live in Minot, but because they moved, they are applying for open enrollment and can do so.
So we don't have to approve this then.
No, we do.
I'll make a motion to approve number 90 in.
I'll second that.
Everly,
Yes,
Mize,
Yes.
Munoz,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Wall.
Yes.
That's it for me.
okay, Ms. Hanson?
I know you wanna talk about masks, but I guess first we can do the egg position. With Mr. Kruger retiring, with Mr. Kruger retiring, we started looking for a person to fill that position, and to be honest, we were worried, it's a tough one to find people for. So we were, looking that way, but also leaning to finding an ag teacher rather than just the mechanical part of it, because then we can have FFA if we have our own ag teacher. Plus, you can offer what we're doing now, plus some different classes too. So putting that out there, we were thrilled to get 3 really, really quality applicants. Never dreamt we did that, so it was tough to even decide, but we went with you have it in front of her, I'll be there, Tracy Kitts. She is a recent graduate, has taught 1 semester, so fairly new to it yet, but as you can read through, lots of glowing recommendations. I always laugh, I have a little bit of insider information because 2 of my kids are ag teachers in the state, so I do find out a little inside information, and heard nothing but good from her, so. Let you look through it for a minute.
So she'll do shop too, and is able to shop?
Yep, she can do what Mr. Kruger's doing, welding, engines, carpentry, plus we can add things like, an animal science or agronomy or, food sciences, different things that we haven't been able to do now, that hopefully will get more kids involved, more girls involved. And like I say, whatever class she wants to do is like an intro to FFA to get the kids going in that. And I don't know if you've been with FFA or not, but there's so many opportunities through them for judging and other programs and travel and, a lot of good things there, so very excited about it.
I'd like to also include that we're going to apply for the CTE reimbursement like we did with Mrs. Severson. She's CTE certified and Perkins money. So we're gonna try to get some money in to help us out with that position.
So this isn't an extra position, this is replacing Mr. Kruger.
Replacing.
I'll make a motion to set Reason Kitts for the position of, jump and
Boy,
So the classes he's teaching aren't going away.
Oh, no,
Sure.
we can add more.
Because it just
They can
sounds
do-
like
They can do
he's
woodworking, engine
position.
repair, welding, teachers can do the whole spectrum.
Just because it's worded agriculture education instructor position, it's not labor.
and they teach, like, my daughter teaches welding, small engines, carpentry, all those different things, but like I said, plus the agronomy, the soil sciences.
Sure.
So it's what we can do plus more.
I'll second Nicole's, Ms. Wall's motion. So,
Everly,
Yes,
Mize,
Yes.
Munoz,
Yes.
Tyler,
Yes.
Wall.
Yes.
And Mr. Kruger is here, so I would just like to say thank you for all of your years of service. We appreciate you.
Thank you. It's been an honor to be here.
Okay, next part you want to talk mask? I don't know if you guys have a
yeah,
specific question where you want to.
since you are the COVID coordinator, we wanted to visit with you as to how things are going. If you guys have looked at changing the mask policy, those kind of types of things.
I know when I kind of figured it was gonna be brought up at the last meeting, I talked to a lot of the teachers, having them send me what they were thinking, and, at that time, it was kind of, well, I have like, I heard from 10 that wanted to keep the mask for sure, and 9 that wanted the masks to go away, so we're kind of even. At that time, we had 22 of the staff, I believe, that had, or 23 that had at least one shot, or were about to get their shot, so now we're close to 25 that have had both shots. We've got that. So talking to teachers today, I didn't send out a survey or anything, but just talking to as many as I could, there's kind of the feeling of, still would like to see them in the hallways and the big gathering places, maybe go away in the classrooms, with the exception if the teacher, if they want the kids to wear them, they're able to mandate that in their classroom. Because I do have some teachers that are not at all comfortable with being without masks. They have health problems or different things, so they want to be able to require them in their classrooms. But otherwise, I think the kind of the general feeling is we could deal with what we need to deal with.
Is there
So-
any particular, oh, I'm sorry, Ron, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, so as a state, we're in the green. And according to the policy that we had put forth, is it mandating masks in there when the state is in green? It's been a while since I've looked at that. I know
We
Dustin,
can
you're on
still
that.
do,
It was
the school can do
optional.
the
Optional.
Yep.
I mean, I personally would like to see it just optional for everybody. I can understand, if hallways, that type of thing maybe, but, to me, I'm to the point where let people decide what risk they wanna take and make it optional. That's the way I feel about it.
And I guess I was just gonna say that pretty much along the same lines as you, Ron, except, I guess I don't really see the need to wear them in the hallways either. I guess when you say optional, I think if a teacher wants to require it for their own personal preference, medical issues, whatever it may be, I could understand and respect that, but otherwise, I'm with you, I agree that it should be optional.
And I think that we need to kind of go in to set an expectation for what is going to happen in the fall too. So that, because we're in green, I don't know that we'll ever be out of green and be green is good. So what's gonna happen in the fall, I think we should probably decide that before the end of this year. And if we can't, I think it's difficult, right, we don't know what's happening day to day.
The only thing I want to make sure everybody understands is with the contact tracing. Right now, if they are wearing masks and one of the kids in the room gets it, we're okay because they have masks on. If we go to the no masks and one of the kids in the room gets it, we stand a pretty good chance of sending quite a few kids home. That's the only big difference with the masking and the no masking.
I guess my concern is the CDC recommendation, their prevention guide for schools is the expectation priorities is universal and correct uses of masks and social physical distancing. So if we're gonna make a decision, I think we should probably just look at recommendations and see where we're at. I know we're green in the state. There's 51 cases in Ward County right now. I don't know if there's any in the school or in the community here.
They're in the community. We have a couple of kids out right now with family.
Yeah. So
And
it's
I
kind
did
of,
that, I'm glad you said that, I did forget, I did call the health unit today just to make sure if they're still on the same thing, and they're still recommending schools. So.
yeah, so I mean, obviously, I just want to throw that out there, that the CDC is recommending that they wear a mask. And I know it's a pain, but I know my kids hate doing it,
I will say my stance hasn't changed. I think it's silly that we're letting them play sports without masks, and they can play baseball, they can play basketball, they can travel on the bus and do all those things, but we're making them wear it in the classroom. Makes zero sense. Like, we're contradicting ourselves by doing that. So it is an option, it is a choice. For work, I don't have that option. I must wear it, so I get it. And I understand the safety, and I understand the CDC guidelines and aspects of it, so I get that part in healthcare. But I think it is a personal choice at this point. We are low enough If we are going to follow the guidelines that we sat down and determined, then we need to do that. We can't continuously change it when we want to. We set that policy and it was green, it was optional, so I think we gotta stand by that.
I think that was put in because if we have COVID cases here, we have an option of putting that mask on.
Right.
It's not saying that we wanna, go here, there, and everywhere, it's just saying that there's an option, if we have a breakout and we're still green, we have the option to say, hey, we need masks.
Yeah.
So I definitely understand what you're saying, and whatever you feel, that's what we're gonna do. I think that's, Mr. Hanson, the same feeling.
Like I say, my only thing is I do, like I mentioned before, I do have several staff that have 4 or 5 that have health issues that are really worried about, am I gonna be able to have the kids wear them in my classroom? So I guess that's a question to answer too.
I think it's also an important distinction to note that wearing a mask isn't so much for you. This doesn't really stop it from getting to you. It stops me from giving it to you. Right? So it's not really about you. It's about the people around you, and that includes the teachers that might have a compromised system or students that might. So, I'm inclined to just listen to what the CDC's recommendations are. However inconvenient or even contrary to some of the other activities we're doing. I mean, we go to church and nobody's wearing a mask. The kids are in jujitsu and they're wrestling with people. But, we all get it. But at some point, we're here, this is where we're at. You have a lot of different people in different aspects of the community coming together. So I think we have our own little bubble, same people that they're with, and nobody's sick, and if they were, we would keep them home and that kind of stuff. But I don't know, I'm just inclined to listen to what the CDC is saying for now until we have a better grasp of where this is going.
I think what the CDC is saying is on a national scale, right? And so when we look at it in our micro area here, we don't have those same numbers and we don't look the same. So if we broke it down by the numbers and the statistics, we would show that we are way lower and we've had less on average from February to now than the rest of the nation, where Ward County on a regular basis is below 10 positive cases every single day.
There's 51 currently in Ward County.
Right, over the 14-day running total. So that's a small number that we are then looking at. And then if you take that as Ward County in general, now you take that down to the city of Surrey and the school, we're even smaller. And so
the recommendations from the CDC are based on, it's not just a blanket policy, everybody wear a mask. It's actually based on if there's nothing in the community, do this. If there's one in the community, do this. If there's one in the school, do this. If there's more than this in the school, do that. So this was their recommendation based on it being in the community, not in the school. So this is actually, the second least restrictive one that they're doing. And they've changed the physical distancing to 3 feet instead of 6.
But they've also made those recommendations long before the vaccinations were, so readily available. In North Dakota, we're in a unique position that anyone who wants a vaccine can get it, and it's been that way for a while.
Sure.
So most people that wanted the vaccine could have already had the second shot. So protecting themselves and not, right, the vaccine doesn't protect maybe someone else. But if I'm concerned about myself, I can get the vaccine. And I think that's where we move to that availability where people can protect themselves.
Have you talked to any area schools, or do you know what some of them are doing right now?
Well, I live in Burble and they don't wear masks. They haven't through a good share of this.
Meadows is wearing.
Meadows is
South Prairie
wearing.
is not, and Rusty is not, and Bonneville is not.
Harvey Neighbors is not.
Bishop Brian probably.
I don't think Bishop Brian is either.
I make a motion, or I'm going to move, I just wanted to correct how to do this. I'm going to move that we, make masks optional except for the places where the teachers that require them in their classroom for the rest of this school year.
Does that include in the hallways or not in the hallways?
In the hallway.
So they wear masks in the hallways?
Optional.
I'll second it.
Everly,
Yes.
Mike,
I want to clarify, so the teachers can still mandated in their classroom. So then it's not an optional policy. So no.
Munoz,
Yes.
Tyler,
No.
Wald,
Yes.
did you say optional in the hallway?
Optional
Yes.
in the hallway.
Just to clarify, it's basically optional unless the teacher in the classroom, his or her classroom.
Correct.
That was what my motion was.
Yes.
Mrs. Dance, anything else?
No. Oh, yes, I do, one more thing. We got a chance, there's a national hockey tournament. It's a Thursday and Friday, or Friday and Saturday, Thursday and Friday. And we did get a chance for taking the 7th and 8th graders in. We got free tickets sponsored by Better Orthodox. Let's put that out there. So we are taking them in on Friday at 10 o'clock.
Thank you, Brian.
Okay, anything from either one of the committees?
No, not really.
New business, I think we'll jump to the school calendar first before we talk about 1 and 2. Mr. Kruger's here, do you wanna address us first? Or?
Sure. Is this working? Okay. Mr. Gertie asked me this morning to come and talk about the school calendar. This is probably the first year I haven't had much input into it because they knew I was leaving. The problem I have in talking to my coaches, taking a week off at the beginning of a sports season probably isn't the best idea. So I looked at the calendar a little harder today. And if I look back at last year's calendar, we had several days off from Christmas until that date. We had Martin Luther King Day off. We had girls basketball had a day off. Boys basketball had a day off. Split it out more. I think it's going to be, and I know teachers last year wanted more days off during the year because it gets too long of a time. Same with students. Now, where we have it at, Mr. Mack just talked to me and Mr. Adderley, he would be starting baseball practice that Monday. Mr. Holtz would be having normally elementary basketball practice or even games that Monday that week. I've scheduled those back a week later, but they're not going to practice that week. They're going to play games. I think coaches can maybe adhere to it, 1 day off a week or something like that. You can work around it. But how do you work around 5 days off when the season starts? I mean, that makes it very difficult to run a program. I looked at our calendar, we have 2 weeks off for Christmas. Well, we have 2 home ball games on Monday and Tuesday that are the 20th and 21st. So now finding workers, finding people that are going to be here are going to be a tough job for who's ever in charge of that duty. So, but I know and I don't know if the answer is move back a week earlier. I'm not sure what you guys want to do, but I think it should be re-looked at and come up with something different. And I don't know what the answer is for that. And I don't want to tell teachers what to do, but I think for what's best for the kids is not to have a week off at that time, is what I'd say. I think for the student athletes, they need to be at the, why are they required to be here and everybody else is gone? If we don't start those practices at that time, we have to get 9 practices in before we play a contest. But now we put our season back, and they got master schedules for baseball. Where track is the same way. We got track meets that are scheduled a year in advance. Everything is scheduled for next year. You can go on our calendar. Every sporting event's already scheduled. It doesn't happen the day before. I mean, football, basketball, everything's scheduled. Referees are all hired. It's done. So I think it needs to be re-looked at, reevaluated. It may be something changed. It's up to the teachers what they want to do, and it's up to the school board. And that's about all I can say. I just don't think it's good for the students. Does anybody have any questions?
Yeah, I have a question, because I don't know much about how the high school athletics work. So if those 2 weeks during Christmas break, or the end of December, you're saying they wouldn't practice then?
During Christmas. During Christmas time, we have practices, we have games, we keep going.
Oh, so they
But-
would still be practicing?
But the hard part is getting somebody to come work those games.
Having somebody work the games.
Oh, who's gonna come here and take tickets? Who's gonna come here and, do the clock and do the book? And, I mean, everybody else, it's tough to get people. We've had great people come and help us in the past. I mean, we've staffed Twyla, Mr. Gertie, Mrs. Hanson. We're here doing that job. But Christmas is, we work with, if it used to be, if you come down, okay, Christmas is on Wednesday, I will take 2 weeks off, he's not there. Now we have Christmas on Saturday, we're taking 2 weeks off. And I don't know if but that's not my choice. But the week-long one, I don't think it's a good choice at all. I know some schools are going to it, but I know there's some teams that went a week earlier, then they weren't eligible to go on track because they didn't have enough practices. So,
One more question, when is the first football game?
first football.
Do you know?
I think the week we come back, so it'd be August 20th.
20th.
August 20th is the first Thursday. August 20th.
So when we talked about the calendar before, I didn't, what Lyle's talking about the spring sports season, I wasn't aware of that, so, a couple of them had talked to me about it, and I said, well, we can look at it again, not that we may change it, but basically what happened is, because they're getting a whole week, a lot of the spring sports start then. And then we co-op with a couple of schools that are in the school, our kids aren't in school. And, so then if kids go on vacation that week, he talks about the night practices and things like that. So it was just something that I was aware of when we approved it, and I don't think any of us were. Not that we have to change anything, but, we thought we should bring it up. To have a second focus. That's why I put it that way.
Can you change your season to start earlier to get your practices in before?
The state said, the High School Activities Association sets your opening date to practice. So whatever they set, that's when you can start your practice.
So do they track the practices, like who's at each practice? Because you could still have practice.
Each,
Has to have 9 each day. Okay.
and it's 9-day practice,
Yeah.
not 9 practices.
But they're going to practice, right?
Well-
Why don't they practice?
I don't.
If they're gone, they won't practice. But it takes 9 days. We've had kids say, well, let's have 2 practices a day. It doesn't work.
Right, they can't do 2 practices a day, they have to have
9 days of practice.
But there's 10 days there.
But to Nicole's point, they can still practice, but I think the issue is if there's a week vacation, some of the kids are going on vacation and stuff, so they're not gonna get their practice time in. So.
I think it's an extracurricular activity. If they're participating in it, they'll know to say, this is better for the whole school body as a whole. Catering to a sport I've never been a fan of. And I'm an athlete who plays sports.
I agree with that. Especially, I think if we're gonna do anything, we should not go to school, not start school so early. That's a perfect example of catering stuff. To the sport, but. Whatever, I don't know, whatever you think.
Any other questions?
Thanks for coming forward.
You're
look at changing it, I'm not sure what,
Yeah, just, I mean, I remember the teachers were pretty overwhelming, they wanted that week off.
They wanted, yes, the majority of the teachers wanted a week off.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be that week, but when we're looking at the calendar, we're thinking, okay, is there a competition that week or is there practice? Because when you look at Christmas, they're still practicing, okay, and they do have competitions during Christmas. So the committee, we thought that was between the week before and the week that we have right now. And there was one competition on the 16th of March, and then the next week was practice. So we felt that if it was just practice, they're not missing a competition. That's why we went that way. And I was just trying to, majority of the teachers wanted a full week, so that's why we chose it.
It's 2 whole weeks, all right?
For Christmas it is, but for the spring break, it's
Oh,
one.
spring break.
That's
That was
correct.
in April, right?
It's in March.
Is he talking about that one, or?
No, he was talking about the March 21st through the 25th.
Oh,
I think
Baseball and track starts March 21st.
he was just talking about the Christmas illustrative
oh,
practice doing.
he's talking about the March?
And this current year, we had 2 weeks at Christmas as well. We have basketball games during
Yeah, I have that.
And I do have copies here if you want to see.
Which one?
D is the one that we approved.
Okay.
Here's,
Oh, yeah, here's that.
I mean, there's a lot of moving parts to the calendar, obviously. I don't think we're gonna be 100% on everything.
And to be honest, the prom date has not been set. We just threw it in there just to get it down. But we're looking for prom advisors for next year, and we need to meet with the sophomores, the prom advisors, maybe some parents to see what the best date for prom. So that date was just thrown in there. I don't know if it's going to be on March 19th. I think that's pretty early, but we had to just throw it in there. And we're going to look for a prom date for next year. So that's not set in stone.
Mr. Gurney, you said you had also looked at doing the whole week, the previous week, but there was one competition.
There's one competition on the
What is that?
It's a music competition at the college,
What, do you know what the date on that is?
March 16th. March 16th is the competition for music. March 21st is when baseball starts practice and when track starts practice.
So like the week of the 14th?
Well, I think the 14th maybe track could start that week as well, but what was your question? Sir?
No, I was just gonna ask if the 14th or the 18th would be, an option.
It's an option, we just have to bring those students back for the competition.
Yeah, no, I was just thinking
Yep.
too, like, it's the end of the quarter, the 18th, and then 19th, if that was the day to prom, it leaves the whole, gym open to decorate and all that stuff too, but I'm just thinking outside the box.
Yep. Like I said, it's up to you. That weekend is a week that we thought of. It's just like we said, one competition and the other one's practice. Doesn't matter to me.
It would probably affect less people if it was the 14th or the 18th, do you think?
Well, I would think that we have probably 70 students in sports between baseball and track. I do believe we have 30 or so in the band competition.
So can they not practice if we're not at school? I guess that's not, they can't practice if we're not in school.
Yep, just like over Christmas break, they have practice, yes.
Yeah, I'm not inclined to revisit it after, I mean, it was approved a while ago. I don't know if people have made plans already based on it. I'm not inclined to revisit the calendar.
I agree.
Everybody agree with that?
I agree with that.
So, make a motion to change it. looks like it'll stay the same. Next item on the agenda is negotiations. This item may be discussed in executive session. The legal authority proposing this portion of the meeting is North Dakota Century Code, section 44-04-19.9. At this time, a motion would be in order to discuss the next topic in executive session rather than open meeting. So I entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to go into executive session to discuss negotiations.
I'll second.
So noted that we went into executive session at 5:41.
Everly?
Yes.
Mize?
Yes.
Munoz?
Yes.
Tyler?
Yes.
Wall?
Yes.
5:41.
Okay, the minutes show the executive session ended at 6:05. We now are back in open session. And our next board meeting is May 12th, 5 o'clock.
So, I think, we need to make a motion about posting a position for the special ed title teacher position.
Yeah, I guess I forgot to put this on my agenda. If, I would like a motion if we could post a special ed position / title position to help relieve the library title currently right now. So if you could, make a motion for that, that'd help us out.
So I will make a motion to put out the notification for looking for a title / special ed teacher.
I'll second.
Everly?
Yes?
Mize?
Yes.
Munoz?
Yes.
Tyler?
Yes.
Wall?
Yes.
Your next board meeting is May 12th, 5 o'clock.
I would motion to adjourn.